So welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the ADS Profit Show. So thank you so much for the great response on the previous episode. So today we have a very special guest with us, another very special guest with us, and
Who would like to stay anonymous?
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi guys,
whatever.
I'm Kutti Behaviour. I never thought about an introduction, but yeah, I'm Kutti Behaviour, and I also have a podcast. Like I thought of having a podcast, but then I'm too lazy to record a podcast. But then I want to talk about things, so I made a podcast which has 0 episodes and only 1 trailer. So yeah. Also, I tweet sometimes, so you can follow me on Twitter. I go by the same name, Kutti Behaviour.
Oh, yes, great, I will add everything in the description. Yeah, okay. So in fact, the trailer does count as an episode. It's an episode 0, so don't worry.
Yeah, still have pilot episode. Okay.
Pointer, sir.
So yeah, tell me about this Kutti Behaviour first, and why do you
why
think
this name?
I want to know that. This name? Because I don't know. I think sometimes life is at its peak Kutti Behaviour. Like you think everything is going fine, and then something will happen, which will not be major, a minor inconvenience, and it'll be like जैसे होता है ना ताश का वो होता है palace. It'll like come falling down. So I think that is why Kutti Behaviour is important, and I think the most millennial, the most Gen Z thing, not millennial. It's like a crossover between millennial and Gen Z. The most Gen Z thing is what we can do in the middle of a pandemic is make a podcast and talk about not so important stuff, but things that matter to us.
Exhibit A.
Makes sense. Exhibit B.
Exhibit A, yes. Hi, and thank you so much for having me here. Yes. I was pestering Rishikesh for a very long time.
Tell us what you bring to the table. Tell us what you bring to this conversation, please.
I think I'll bring a lot of perspective from someone who's a closeted bisexual Indian woman, but is also hetero-romantic. So it kind of becomes very difficult to be completely bisexual. I don't know. Anyway, there's a lot of boundary defined nahi hai of bisexuality. I think people don't take it seriously. It's like, I think women are bisexuals only. There's a lot of that I've heard. So basically boundary defined nahi hai, and then again you have a very subsection, a very specialization in it ki hetero-romantic bhi ho. It gets very difficult to talk to purely bisexual women. So
what is hetero-romantic? I don't know.
Hetero-romantic is I don't feel a romantic connection with a woman. It's like that. Like it will be very difficult. It's not justified for me to get into a relationship, like a committed relationship with a woman. It's not justified because I think there's definitely थोड़ा sexual part भी होता है, romantic part भी होता है when you're in a relationship. So it's not justified. Like I don't want to hurt someone by being distant like that.
Yeah, but have you been with a woman ever, either sexually or romantically?
Yeah, sexually, not romantically.
All right.
I just don't understand the idea of it, and it took me a long while to figure out.
So would you say that you're somewhere in between, as in are you completely sure that you cannot feel romantic towards a woman, or do you want to explore that area a little bit and then reach a conclusion?
No, I think I am completely sure. At this point, I'm completely sure. I've been exploring it for about 2 years now, and I think I'm completely sure. I haven't met anyone who's challenged the romantic side of me and has made me feel like I should
be
romantic towards them.
No, makes complete sense.
And then again, it's very difficult to go out, especially in the middle of the pandemic, and then again you're in college, you're working. It's very difficult to meet women, and then again to explore this side and to explain to them ki ये सब है, and then are you okay with it, and are you sure कि like we are headed towards the right place and like we are on the same page. It's very difficult to explain and to like keep their interest, because they often lose interest. They'll be like, okay, fine, now we were looking for a relationship, but then you're not available romantically, so what is the point? And then they'll lose interest. And I'm like, okay, fine, justified. I
Yeah.
would do the same if I were in their shoes.
Do you put this on your
Justified.
Tinder profile that you're
I don't
bisexual?
put this on my Tinder profile, but then I tell them like straight up.
All right.
Yeah, this is the scene. And then I think everyone on I use Bumble, by the way. So I think everyone on Bumble
Good
is
for you.
definitely looking for a hookup or something sexual. It's very rare that someone's on Bumble for a romantic relationship.
Don't they
I
go
thought
by
it
the
was-
app that is
I thought
made
it
to
was
be
otherwise.
uninstalled together? Isn't that the title for
No,
Bumble?
that's Hinge, or maybe I'll.
Oh
I
wait,
don't-
yes.
What is the title? What is that?
An app made to be uninstalled together, something like that.
That-
Very
that is
That is
cheesy.
very lame. That is very lame.
Yeah, that is very cheesy. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, a good idea. Good, nice way of marketing their app, but well, they're talking to Gen Z.
Yeah, there's so many instances when I've seen that either the guy or the girl is still on that platform even after being in a committed relationship with someone. And I've seen it with people I know. मतलब एक junior थी college की and her
Yeah.
boyfriend was on Bumble and I came across his profile like हाँ ये तो देखा लग रहा है. I'm like, oh shit, should I tell her and ruin her relationship, or
Oh
should I
dang.
not tell her and be a bad friend? Like काफी एकदम धर्म संकट हो जाता है.
Oh shit. Well, I mean, I don't mind people if they have an arrangement, like an open relationship
like
kind
a-
of a thing. Yeah, I don't
I
mind that.
also think I may be polyamorous, but then again, I have not explored it enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe in season 3 of this podcast, I might come again and be like, hey, I'm bisexual, hetero-romantic, and polyamorous.
Yay!
If people believe
And we'll be
me,
rooting for you.
What if it's maybe it would be like a recurring thing where we have like this update about your life every 6
sexuality,
months.
huh?
I just had a vision like Raven has in That's So Raven. Like, okay, cool.
Could be a thing.
Yeah. I just saw the future.
Yeah, so
But then again, I'll have to explore, huh?
speaking about
Today's topic. Let's
women
get back
in
to it.
relationships.
Oh,
Yeah,
are we? Oh, yes.
Speaking about women in relationships, so recently, this would be a nice segue towards our first part about, or maybe the main topic about today's podcast. So before this podcast began, I sent these two people a very nice document. It was about 28 pages. It was the it was the judgment, which was recently passed in Madras Highcourt, which basically governed and talked about the LGBTQ relationships and the responsibility of the states towards that. To be broad, and I would say after reading that, I would say it would be like a nice starter course for someone who doesn't know anything about it, but has like a basic level of prudence to understand and has an open mind to understand what this is, what the relationships are, what this position in society is, and anyway. So starting about that, I hope you guys have gone through it a bit. So a lot of people must be aware about it, and it's so giving a little
It's
bit of
kind of
actual
beca-
content.
Yeah, it's kind of become an international phenomena. Like, it has garnered a lot of attention all over the world.
Definitely.
So,
I mean,
pretty
a
sure a lot of our
judge
listeners know about
using the term wokeness in their judgment is obviously
Next level.
obviously going to gather some views, and in fact he in the judgment he acknowledged that his orders were getting a lot of attention from young people. Like, it is
Yeah.
written there. He has
Yeah, it
mentioned in the
is.
judgment that his
I
Yes.
have taken screenshots of parts that I
Yeah.
found really important, and it's here. Like, yeah, it is.
So giving a little bit of actual context to this whole judgment. So there were two women. One was 22 years old and one was 20 years old. So they were in a romantic relationship, and their parents were not agreeing with it. That's why they were like they moved to like some different city and registered themselves or took help of an NGO to help to get employment and other kind of opportunities. The family of both the girls were not happy with it, and then they filed a missing persons report and complaint. with the police. Sorry. So after that happened, the police, what they did was basically questioned them, and then they questioned them, and the whole tension was created, and these women then approached the your they approached the honorable high court with a writ petition regarding the whole thing, that they need protection, and they need protection from police. They don't want harassment from police, and that's what the whole thing was. So that was the whole basic factual context. Now the matter came before the court, then the court passed their first order, which stated that they cared about the safety of girls, and they wanted that it should be taken care of, and they are not harassed. This is the first thing the court went for. Then because of this, and because it considered the very serious nature of the incident and very serious nature of the situation, they wanted an in-camera proceeding. So for people who don't know what an in-camera proceeding is, sorry. So an in-camera proceeding is a proceeding which happens without the presence of any individual in the court, where just the petitioners, the respondent, like both the parties are present, the judge is present, and if the police is involved, they are present, and nobody else. It usually happens in judges' chambers or the courthouse is closed. So that happened because the sensitive nature of the matter, the thing happened in camera. That's what we call it, in camera proceeding. After that, the judge wanted so the parents gave out like their perspective that they cared for their children and daughters, and that's why they were very scared for them, and they were obviously caring for them, and that's why they were scared of them, for them. And considering that, the court gave them a mediation like to go and just talk it out, and because the girls weren't in contact with the parents, that's why they had to file the missing person complaint according to them. And after that, they were referred to as counseling psychologists to get the whole because they wanted a peaceful resolution. Now now, so a lot of people at this point have previously argued, and a lot of previously have argued that why do you need to send a person who is in a homosexual relation to a clinical or to a psychologist with the parents to understand the whole situation? Like, why can't you just accept it? I hope this is one of the arguments which are many people aware of, that why do you need to do that? So the judge also very clarified this, that he wanted to look at the whole thing from a professional's lens. He didn't want to maybe ignore some kind of key facts, and because of not having a professional eye regarding this whole relationships and everything. That's why he wanted professional help in this situation. That's why a psychologist was mentioned, and that's why he was very wary of the situation and didn't send the girls to the second session. So another session was ordered after that, and the parents were asked to go, but not the girls. Yes, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was saying that also the judge was like very persistent about one thing, that whatever he's writing in the judgment should fall from his heart. Like, he has mentioned this a couple of times in the judgment as well, that he didn't want to take an ill-informed decision because he was not informed. He's an outsider, like he barely knows anything about the LGBTQ community. So like, from the beginning of this whole I would say petition, he was very persistent about this one fact, that he just wanted to be informed about it and only then pass a judgment that he wholeheartedly supports. And I think that's really great. I mean, how many judges do that, right?
Yeah, after reading that whole judgment, this one thought came in my mind. I saw this movie called 2012. I think you must have seen it also. There was this scene where the guy, I don't know if you remember it or not. There was this guy, a monk, who was sitting with another older monk. He was having like a cup of tea or something, or a cup of water. I may be wrong, or I may be confusing it with some other movie, but I do remember this scene happening. No. He said that to gain knowledge, first your life is like a full glass of water. to get knowledge, you can't, and knowledge is like that water. But to add more knowledge, you can't add knowledge to the full glass of water. Like
Glass
you
of
can't
water,
add
yeah.
more than that. First,
You
you
have to
need to
unlearn stuff.
you have to yes, basically you have to empty that glass of water and then get more thing to actually understand. So this is what I felt throughout the judgment, that the judge was the honorable judge was essentially breaking down his preconceived notions and his stereotypes, and was willing to understand what their perspectives are and what their
just by
what
the way,
they go through.
never shied away from saying that
Yeah.
he is he belongs to the older lens of seeing things. Like he never once shied away from the fact or accepting the fact that he belongs to a conservative school of thought and he wants to be enlightened about this issue, and that's a huge feat for anybody. Like because
I agree, because I think this is a very common thing with Indians and people from the older generation, because they think what they know is complete,
universal
is right.
truth, yeah.
And it's like कि कह दिया तो कह दिया, and like they won't listen to the scientific explanation, or they won't accept logic for their argument. I think this is very important. Like someone being at such a honorable post, being at such a high post of like being old as well and being a respected member of the society, saying that yes, I do not know something and I'm willing to learn and unlearn things. I think this is a huge step for someone, like as a person as well and as a member of a society as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so obviously, but he at one point did explain why was this situation happening. So he explained that in our society, a person falling in love with another person has always been through a situation where it is apparently a heterosexual relationship. He hasn't seen that thing happening with a homosexual relationship. So he pointed out that a lot of this is because of the social conditioning, and because of how we also discussed this in our previous episode a little bit about the conditioning and all, and how we how we grow up seeing things and then associate them with them. So similarly, he did that with the relationships he sees. But he said that it took me 15 minutes to change my mind about that. It took him 15 minutes to understand that the relationship which those two girls have is completely pure, and it can be equated to a heterosexual relationship which he has come across of love. So that's what he basically said, which I think is true for a lot of people. But at the same time, not that being true, I believe a judge should be not should be, but judge is like an ideal individual of the society.
Yeah.
To the person who decides between what is wrong and what is right, essentially knows what is right and what is wrong. So basically, he knows the entire thing and then decides about it. So to understand so one should aspire to be like that, because and that is what I think should be another takeaway from this judgment, because this not only gives out an order about what the state should do, which I will going to come on later, but also gives out the perspective of what a person should have, like what his thought process should be while learning about anything that is new, not just about the LGBTQ community, but anything that is regressive or maybe that they are not aware of or have preconceived notions about. They should be like open-minded about it and have like a professional help and people who are experienced in that situation or that field to get to know about that information. So this is one another takeaway from that. So
for someone who was living in the 18th century, if you want to talk about it, maybe women voting used to seem very abnormal, was not widely accepted. We used to think like women should not vote and it's illegal. But then like maybe saying the N word for black people was very normal and it was okay. But I think like jo okay hai does not mean it's right.
I think for white people.
Pardon?
You said saying the N word for black people, or do you mean the N word for white people?
Using the N word for black people
by
used to
white
be
people.
normal by white people, used to be normal.
Yeah.
But which is something that is normal because we decide what is normal because we are okay with it. So we decide कि हाँ ये चीज़ normal है and we are accepting it. But maybe it's not right, and like as you progress you might realize कि हाँ this is not right, and you should be open to unlearning and you should be open to accepting. And then again, maybe you're still not convinced by something. Like I think this happens a lot with our parents as well. They might not agree with something that we agree with, but okay, so there's this very gray area where they might not accept what we are agreeing with, but they might not oppress us as well. Like I'm not getting the right word, but it's like they're not agreeing with it completely, but they're okay with it. They're fine. Okay, fine. You want to do it? Do it. Maybe this could be same about us coming out as well. Sorry, there's a lot of noise outside. Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Police आगे पकड़ने.
That's probably an ambulance looking at India's medical condition.
An ambulance, sorry.
But ignorance is
I'm
also
so sorry
bliss.
for laughing at this, but
Ignorance is bliss.
yeah.
हाँ, तो मतलब basically it happens with our parents. Like they might not agree with something. Maybe like us coming out, they might accept us. Okay, fine, we are okay with your truth, but we're not agreeing with it. Like they're still not okay with it.
Yeah,
but
that's actually also what one of the petitioners' parents said too. They said that, you know, it's okay. I mean, I think they can stay with us. Like she can stay with us, but we will never accept it. But for the happiness of my child, because happiness comes first, we are ready to accept her. That's what she said. But she was not agreeing with the homosexuality part of it. So
yeah, saying so this exact thing was, I would say, this part which highlighted what the parents' idea was and what their parents' thought process was regarding the whole thing was explained through the second report which the psychologist gave after the second session. So I would like to read that out, because I believe what is written here is exactly what the parents and the people in India feel. Like for a lot of people, it summarizes what they go through.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are in this situation. I will just read that out. So it's written in the 6th paragraph.
Yeah.
I will share the judgment for whoever likes to read it.
I have it open. Can I open it? Can I read it?
Yeah,
sure. I have it open in front of me. All right.
Yeah, I have also. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So the report that the psychologist wrote had the following points. Parents of both the petitioners feel great amount of shame, fear, and social disdain upon them because of their respective daughters' homosexual relationship. Second, both parents expressed exhaustion in dealing with the litigation and felt let down that their daughters have not paid heed to their sentiments and beliefs and are ready to let go of them to live as they wish. However, they did not come from a place of acceptance, but from a sense of hopelessness and unwillingness that they had no say in their decision anymore. Third, both parents expressed concern over the safety, security, and future of their children. However, they also expressed their belief that their daughter's homosexual relationship would cause damage to their future. Fourth, one of the petitioner's parents expressed that the happiness is fundamental to them and that they accept her despite them differing in their opinions about homosexuality and the social exclusion that they apprehend to face due to the same.
So it shows like a range of emotions for a lot of people. It is exhaustion. It is
a very Indian
helplessness.
thing where
It is
people are like, चलो ठीक है, सब में क्यों पढ़ना, अब जो है सो है, and we'll accept it. कि हमें और अब कोर्ट कचहरी के चक्कर नहीं काटने, हम नहीं चाहते कि बात लोगों में और फैले, हाँ खत्म करो सियापा, ठीक है अब जो है सो है, बेटी तो अपनी है. I think it's more of that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a vicious circle as well, because the less you want the society to know about
with
it.
Just one. The litigation was, I think, with both, but the acceptance due to helplessness was just with one. With one parent.
With one parent, not a pair of parents, like just one parent out of the two parents of one. Oh God.
I think it's a step somewhere, मुझे लगता है, because it's a very difficult thing, like being a member of the society and being a parent of a child, and you think being a member of the society, being a parent of a child, and ठीक है आपको समाज में रहना ठीक है मतलब you might think we as Gen Z kids might think कि लोग तो कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना, and we might not be very affected by it, but I think our parents or our grandparents or people living in like tier 2 cities or villages जो भी है मतलब they are very affected by it मतलब they want to be a part of the society, they want to have a social life, they want to be a part of that circle, and उनको लगता होगा awkward, and it's okay for them also. We as kids or like as woke people should understand them as well. मुझे लगता है I might sound very
no, I think you sound absolutely right, because I feel like the kind of societies that have led to us as individuals, like comparing Gen Zs to the previous generations, they're just completely different, because we as Gen Z population, like we just feel like we are entitled to our thought, we are entitled to our way of living, and the society, if has a problem, can go F itself. And that's kind of where we come from, and that's exactly the opposite of where our parents come from, because everything that they do has to be a product of everybody's opinions around them.
And we also might be like this in the future. I think we are young and we are not dependent on a lot of factors for our sustainability in the society. But if, for example, I am looking for a job and I cannot come out to my co-workers because that will impact my prospect of getting a job, I would not come out. I would stay closeted to get a job, because I think मेरी priority होगी to get a job, not to be out and proud, and I think that would not be my priority at that time. So okay, it happens to the best of us, and you cannot distinguish between living life the right way or living life the wrong way. You have to adjust, I think.
Maybe everybody has like their own definitions also about the whole thing, what they prioritize in life. But what I also think is a lot of it is based upon what kind of environment we have grown up in. So our parents grow up in a situation where they were not aware or had access to a lot of things. Like they didn't have internet, they didn't have an access to what kind of world outside their communities. They just had like a peek of it through the government controlled channels, or the later channels came very afterwards in late 80s and 90s, where the most of the childhood had already passed away for our parents, and our grandparents were already above that. Then we came up where we came up and grew up in a time where we had access to the internet, we had access to a lot of the world. Plus, because of this access, the world also started creating more information and content regarding this. So we had not only we had greater access, but also an access to a greater amount of content.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing over here, like from personal anecdotes. For the longest time, I thought that there was something wrong with me, because first, I belong to Rishikesh, which is like a very small town. Nothing against small towns, but I got access to Wi-Fi pretty later on, like as compared to most of my friends. I got Wi-Fi when I was like in I think 10th or 11th. That's when I got Wi-Fi. Otherwise, I used to go to the nearest cafe and, search for gay porn, but... But no, just kidding. I used to do that too, but that was just an instinct from that was just an instinct, and for the longest time I thought that this was sinful, that I was doing something wrong. मुझे बहुत time तक यही लगा, and not until I turned like 18 I finally understood, like, yeah, okay, I mean and you know why that happened? Because I saw people on YouTube, people who are huge media personalities, accepting the fact, making themselves visible that they're gay or they're somehow queer, right? I think the final accepting thought was that, okay, Tim Cook is gay, he's the CEO of Apple, I can be gay too. That was literally my last thought. That was where I was completely fine with it, with accepting the fact that I have sexual and romantic desires towards somebody of the same sex. Before that, literally no representation, because I didn't have a very good access to internet. And once I did, well, yes, that improved a lot of things for me because, well, I was struggling with my own thoughts. It was not great. It was not great at all. I went through a huge spell of depression as well. I was suicidal because I thought that, well, I'm doing something wrong. And as the representation around me started growing, as I saw people around me, like these media personalities are not exactly around you, but they're always in the media and they're so out and proud about it. That improves things. So yes, I agree with Rishikesh that our parents have had no representation of same-sex couples existing, same-sex families existing, or not just same-sex families, families that are just not heteronormative. So it's kind of difficult. I can understand where they come from.
Classic example of this could be, have you seen that show called Made in Heaven?
Oh, I have, yes. It's amazing.
Yes. So you remember that scene where the landlord of that guy told him about...
Exactly.
So that the stark difference between those both characters, who is like belonged or maybe grew up with that kind of access, or in the person who never could and had grown up with a family in a closet, was essentially like, it was beautiful about how they...
It was beautifully represented,
I agree with this thing. Like, we have access to a lot of things on the internet, and we listen to people, we see their stories, and that gives us a little courage, and that also gives us a little sense that we are not alone. So I'll tell you a little story. Like, I was dating someone who was very conservative in their thoughts, and like, we were not even dating, but we were like kind of progressing towards that. And I told the guy, yeah, I'm bisexual. And this time I was not, I did not know that I'm hetero-romantic. I don't have a lot of experience this time. So I just told the guy I'm bisexual, and he, since he was very conservative, he got angry, and then I had to explain it to him. And his first thought was, yeah, but did you kiss a girl ever? And I thought like, oh, okay, fine. Like, I felt like he was challenging it. Like, I was confused for a second, and like self-doubt aa gaya ki, okay, wait, but I've never kissed a girl before. So, but then I realized कि नहीं यार, हाँ, ऐसे नहीं होता है. And then I had to give him like practical examples कि अरे वो उसको जानते हो, ट्वाइलाइट में जो बेला बनी थी, क्रिस्टन स्टीवर्ट, हाँ वो भी, अरे डेमी लोवाटो को जानते हो, हाँ वो भी. And then he was like कि नहीं, ये सब तो celebrities हैं, ये सब तो मतलब इंडिया के फिल्म हैं. And then he did not agree to it, and we made our peace eventually. But that like that shows कि हाँ मतलब उस time पे I think India में people were not very open about it, and there was a very stereotypical कि अगर कोई gay है तो वो अपना हाथ ऐसे करके बात करेगा.
And the representation of people, sorry I'm cutting you off, the representation of people in our media during that time was just in comical just for comical purposes, or
exactly.
Not
biggest example is Bobby. You know about her? Biggest example. Yeah, exactly, right? Because she was always, I think she was always misused for representing. I mean, yes, I can understand where she comes from. I don't have anything against her. I have things against Bollywood for using her in the wrong manner, right? Or using them, I should say, because I don't know their pronouns. There was
this award show, and she was sitting in like third or fourth row, and the award show did a whole segment on Bobby Darling. They did not name her Bobby Darling, but they dressed a man like her, and they did a whole funny act.
And, we don't really know their pronouns, so let's just refer to them by they.
Them. So they were sitting in like third or fourth row, and the camera was constantly panning towards them, and you could see Bobby Darling crying a little, like you could see tears building up in their eyes, and like that was awkward. And I was probably 10 or 11 at that time, and I knew no, this is something wrong. Not because I knew what being they, them, she, her, he, him is, but I knew this is wrong. Like, from as a person, as a human being, bullying someone for even I did not even know there's a concept of sexuality, gender, but I knew bullying someone for the way they look or the way they act is wrong. I just knew that, and I felt so uncomfortable watching it on TV with my parents.
And this is as a kid, right? I mean, even you could understand that.
I had no access to internet, but I knew this is wrong. This is something which is wrong. And then I grew up watching so much of shit on TV and movies. There was this token character. अगर लड़की का best friend है तो वो gay होगा.
Yeah.
This was a token character.
The gay best friend. Yeah.
The gay best friend.
GBF. Yeah, it has been condemned a lot in Western media as well. And also, like, I just wanted to. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of deviating from the main topic, but I kind of want to have a conversation over the fact when your ex kind of questioned your bisexuality by saying that, have you even tried it? Have you ever kissed a girl? तो मेरे को भी ना ये question बहुत बारी पूछा जाता है. Like when I first come out to people, like they're like, but like, oh my god, how do you know? How do you even know? Like when I tell them that, you know, I've never been with a girl, like when I say I've never been with a girl, I've never been with a girl. Like I've never slept with any woman or kissed a woman. Nothing sexual has happened between me or a woman on this earth. So then people are like, how do you even know? Like when you have not kissed a woman, how do you even know that you're like into men? So my instant question to them is, how do you know that you're attracted towards the opposite sex? Like how do you know? If you haven't tried it with the same sex, then how can you say that you're into the other sex? And that kind of the conversation becomes really easy after that, because, well, when they don't question their heterosexuality, then why should I question my homosexuality? And then the question is nowhere in sight. Once I ask that.
Very good way of getting back at them.
But I think this what is needed is this. I think what you just explained is what needs to be the voice in your mind. Like when you are going to ask somebody that kind of question, just ask yourself first.
Exactly.
A basic level of prudence will take you towards that point where you're like able to find that question. Like just a simple train of thought will lead you to that answer. Because there is essentially nothing I will say will able to convince you except that question. I will use countless examples. I will able to use countless situations from media. I will use countless situations from nature. But that will not convince you, because you already have a preconceived notion. You are not going to be convinced by my answer. What you need is find that voice which has this basic prudence and reason, and have that train of thought, and then understand that by yourself. This is what our attempt is, to essentially generate or like spark that train of thought in your minds when we talk about this, so that when you go back from watching this, you have like this small thing in your mind. And that is what this judgment also does, that it helps you expand your horizon towards that thought also. I would also add, like in the last part of the judgment, the judge gave recommendations to what different people of the society and governmental institutions could be exposed to get that whole information for them, and what is necessary for them. This includes private institutions, schools, colleges, the parents, the police officers, the job situations and all. So everything. So he has categorized what needs to be said to these people in order to actually understand what the problems are and what they could do in their whole aspect. So one of the key things is the introduction of the gender neutral toilets and the washrooms, which in workplaces and in educational institutions as well. So this is what the first thing that should be done. It is also mentioned in our labor codes as well. Since very long time, the presence of gender neutral bathrooms, because that is what sometimes essentially disallows an individual who doesn't identify with either to actually go into that workplace, because it's obvious that they are not going to be comfortable using the either. It was just an example. So talking about the parents part and the whole how the Western world has progressed faster than India. So one of the reasons I think would be the which I believe to be is cause of that is the introduction of the media sources and media consumption things in the Western world was much faster than in India. They had many more channels. They had much more movie theaters. They had a greater economy, so that people can actually were able to spend on that to actually consume that kind of media content. That content was getting created. So a lot of times the world moves faster in the West than in India, I would say, in regards of technology. And since technology a lot of times shapes the society as well, So
Yeah.
that was one of the, I think, the major causes of that. And this can be observed in this show called Feel Good, which I recently
Yes.
watched on Netflix. So
Just
one
watch
of
the
the
second season.
It's
I
amazing.
watched the whole thing in like 2 days. I
And
really,
it's fun to
really
watch.
enjoyed
Like you
it.
can
Yeah,
totally binge watch
I
both
really
the
enjoyed
seasons in
it.
a day. Yeah.
So one thing which I really liked was that I think that this was also there in the mindset of people who were directing Shubh Mangal Savan, the sequel to that
Mm-hmm.
whole movie. I will come to how I'm drawing the parallel. So the reaction of the main protagonist parent was similarly to an individual who is generally portrayed in a heterosexual way. They
Yeah.
explained the partner about what the shortcomings are and what kind of things. So the intricate character details were exactly the same as the parent of an heterosexual
You're talking
individual
about
is
Feel
going
Good,
to
no?
be. Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The I am it was an observation that it was exactly the same. Only the individual was didn't identify as either male or female, had and didn't exactly explain which towards where they are inclined. But the thing is that it was completely normal for them to actually figure out what she wants is actually most important for them. And I think that is what is an ideal situation where you're actually dealing with a different aspects of problems in life, like your professional career and the other kind of things. And I think that there was actually
Yeah.
no struggle for her to actually come out to her parents and
This is the only thing I
talk
liked
the whole
about
thing.
the show, because I think stories about LGBTQ plus is about people coming out, the struggle of coming out,
Yeah,
parents'
absolutely.
reaction. ये कुछ
Yeah.
different था. It was not about this, although this is still a huge problem and this is important to address. But it was also about the other things, like fine, you could have a drug abuse problem, you could have a coping.
PTSD. Yeah.
There would be other different problems too. You could have a professional career struggle as well, and not just a story about coming out. मतलब ठीक है, I
Your
think
sexuality. Yeah.
it did not their struggles did not revolve around their sexuality. I felt that their
Yeah.
struggles
I
were
felt
as an
like
individual.
Yeah, I felt like the right way to describe is that they were not insensitive towards the LGBTQ community, but at the same time, they didn't touch upon it so much that it became just another cliched story about people
I think
coming out.
someone who does not even identify with the community
Exactly.
could also relate to the show, because this is a
Absolutely.
normal person problem.
Yeah.
It's like that.
And also, like, talking about just the sexuality orientation part of it, I believe it has been so beautifully explained, like traversed throughout the whole TV show, because you never even feel the need for that person to tell you, that okay, I want to put myself into this box, or I want to put myself in that box. I'm just a human being. I'm allowed to either be totally like sure about whatever I am, or if I am not sure about who I am, who are you? Who are you to ask me that question? I mean, I want to live my life just as a person. I don't want to put myself in any box, and that should be completely fine too. So, I guess that's something that has not been touched upon in a lot of TV shows, and this does it really beautifully.
In India, that movie which I was referring to, so obviously they had to show that kind of struggle in India. It was obviously the first kind of thing. It was a step in the right direction, because unless you normalize it, it is not going to be solved. So that normalization was, I think, in the back of mind of the director while showing the struggle of the relationship. The relationship of Ayushmann Khurrana and Jitu Bhaiya, as we all know him, was exactly similar to what we see in regular these kind of things, where you have to fight with your parents. You have the struggle of
Like a
the
Romeo
other one
Juliet
accepting
story.
you and other one fighting for you. That was in the back of the mind of the director, but it was not like on the face of it like it is here. Feel good.
Agreed. I think that is because India mein people are still coming to terms with this reality, but I think in the Western countries ठीक है, मतलब this is still prevalent. Like if you see George की family के साथ, her parents were not very accepting of it, but with May's
So
family,
she was
she was afraid
struggling
that her parents, struggling
come to
tell her
terms with the
friends.
whole thing, her friends and family. But I think that whole family accepting her was not very much touched upon, because if you remember that her mother was like hiding in a closet to
Yeah, that was
I
a
think
very
that
nice
was
scene, yeah.
like poetic, because
Poetic, yes,
her mother was literally hiding in a closet for her daughter, because the roles are reversed in this kind of situation.
I did like that scene a lot, yes.
They made sure that the story is not another cliche.
It was such a poetic scene that like you have your romantic partner in front of you and you are like you want your parents' acceptance for it, but your parents is already accepted that and they are in the closet for you for your romantic partner's acceptance. So the roles are completely switched up and the paradigm is completely shifted. It's amazing.
Yeah, I loved that.
Have you guys seen Schitts Creek?
I have.
Not the whole thing.
Yeah, but then again, usme bhi it's similar with David and Patrick. Like everyone's okay with it. There's no one's questioning them, and everyone's okay with it. David explains with the wine analogy once, and okay, but that's still they're not challenging it. The whole story does not revolve around it.
Yeah, and that's something that really needs to be more out there in the media, I think. I mean, have you guys seen Euphoria?
No, I want to see it.
Are you guys? I cannot with you guys. If you've not seen Euphoria, you're missing one of the most amazing marvels of cinematography that has ever existed, by the way. Not just this century or this decade. It's amazing all over. Like, one of the best TV shows ever.
Next show on the list.
And it has only one season. I think the next season was supposed to come out this year, but because of the lockdown, it got postponed to next year, I think. Early next year. But I can't wait.
Time to catch up. And I'll watch.
Yeah, you should. And it also deals with sexuality in a very fluid manner. Like, you know, it touches upon it very subtly, but again, just like Feel Good, it's, you know, it doesn't make the whole character about their sexualities. Like, there are multiple sexually fluid characters in the TV show, okay? And it doesn't make the whole story about them, about their sexuality. That's not the whole character.
Each individual has their own personality, which does not revolve around their sexuality. Yeah.
Yes, and that's what I love about, you know. And have you guys watched this TV show called Special? Now that we're talking about TV shows, let me just go off. So Special is about a guy who's like, what kind of? Wait, I'm kind of forgetting what he has. He has a condition. Cerebral palsy. He has cerebral palsy, and he's gay. So like, it's such a good mix of it's such a brilliant story. Yes. Very good comparison.
Which I wasn't able to hear
Margarita with a straw.
No, I haven't seen that movie also.
It's Kalki
the acting
in the movie. It's a beautiful. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, even the actress who's starring opposite, I'm forgetting her name. Oh God, she's my favorite actress. How can I forget?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Wait, 1 minute.
She's in 4 more shots as well.
Sayani Ghosh.
Sayani,
Gupta.
yes. Sayani Gupta. And both of these actresses have performed so beautifully. I believe Kalki deserved an IFA or something for that movie. But when has Indian jury ever bothered about actual acting and not about star power? So let's move on and shift our focus back to the judgment that we were talking about.
No, I think it's important to connect the judgment with our society, because it literally shows up the mirror to your society and then breaks it and then builds the mirror again.
I want to ask something. What is your parents' take on this? Like, how do they react to the term LGBT or any scenes like this on the TV when you're watching with family, or any news like this? How do they react to it? What is their reaction, and do you do something to educate them on this? Do they ask questions about this, to both of you?
Yeah, of course. Should I answer first?
Yeah.
If that's okay. Yeah. So yeah, obviously I'm always watching gay TV shows and gay movies. So whenever my mom enters, you know what? I'm watching this TV show, Queer as Folk, these days, and it is a very old TV show. Like, it was released in the 90s. I just never caught up upon it. And now that I've started watching it, I realize how brilliantly written and beautifully made it is for the time that it released in. And there's a lot of sex in the TV show, a lot of sex, which I don't mind, but of course my parents do. So I literally, like, it's on my TV all the fucking time whenever, like, I'm sorry for swearing, pardon my French. So whenever my mom enters, like, my room, that TV show is always on, and there is usually some homosexual sex scene going on in the TV show. So I quickly pause it just because Indian values, but I think she doesn't mind it. She sees it and then she chooses to ignore it, and then she sees me reading a lot of text as well. Actually this happened just the other day. So what happened, my mommy must have asked my mommy's son, my cousin, about what the rainbow on my profile signifies.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I told you, like, my family is not blocked from my Instagram profile. So my mommy asked my cousin, and my cousin must have told her that ये तो एक gay sign होता है, उसने ऐसा बोला. So then my mommy called my mom, and they were not really talking about this, but this randomly popped up, and she was like, ये गौतम ने अपनी Instagram पे gay sign क्यों लगा रखा है? And so mom had a conversation with me, and she was like, why do you have to, like, do you have a gay sign on your तूने ऐसे लिखा हुआ है क्या कि अपनी प्रोफाइल पे कि तू गे है? एंड मैंने कहा नहीं, मैंने तो ऐसा कहीं भी नहीं लिखा हुआ. नहीं, मामी कह रही थी कि तूने कोई साइन लगा रखा है अपनी इंस्टाग्राम प्रोफाइल पे एंड समथिंग. मैंने कहा नहीं, रेनबो लगा रखा है. दैट एक्चुअली देन आई एक्सप्लेन टू हर कि व्हाट एग्जैक्टली डज द रेनबो स्टैंड फॉर एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. सो आफ्टर दैट शी says to me कि क्या ज़रूरत है, मतलब why do you actually have to put it out there? Like, I am straight, but I don't have to tell people that I'm straight, which also went on for another conversation. So long answer short, yes, we have a lot of conversation around this, especially me and my mom. My dad doesn't really bother a lot. I think he's just my dad is quite chill. No, he's not ignorant. He's just like pretty chill. He's like a chill person altogether. मतलब उनको ना दूसरों की लाइफ से कुछ ज़्यादा इतना मतलब नहीं है. Neither does other people's opinions affect him that much as they do my mom. So my mom and I have a lot of conversation about this. So like sometimes, randomly, because I belong to a Punjabi family, and I am the next in line to get married. Like, I am the eldest of all the cousins right now, like in my family and in my paternal and maternal family. So I'm the eldest one. I'm the next to get married, next in line. So the topic of my marriage comes up more often than not.
I can relate, yeah.
Yeah, especially when I'm at my relative's place, like at my mama's place or something like that. So yeah, my mom sometimes refers to my future partner as a she, and so otherwise it didn't used to bother me, but now that I've come out to her, it kind of started bugging me. Why is she still using that pronoun for my future partner? And so then I had a conversation about that too, that why aren't you just like, about how her ideas are so concrete and so down in the stone that she's not being able to shake them. Although it's been just like a few months since I came out, but I think she has been accepting it and understanding it, and yeah, it's kind of a good equation. Like, we get to converse a lot. What about you, Rishikesh? Do your parents do your parents even know that this podcast is happening, and what is it about?
Yeah, they know. They have like an idea. I don't think that they have the time to. I don't think they have a time to watch the whole 1 hour.
Achha.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, I do send them videos. I do, like, I'm completely open about it, what I do, and I share everything, But I haven't had like a very lengthy conversation about it, because I think somewhere or the other, I will explain it through like an example. So a lot of, in like a general sense, so a lot of parents also believe that a person up to the age of 18 years just hasn't developed his like thinking capacity completely. So they are not old enough to take decisions for their life, of their life. So for their or of their life. So so a lot of things which the child or the individual might say and believe in or thinks about is just taken away कि छोड़ो बच्चा ही तो है, बच्चे की बात क्या माननी. So a lot of a lot of that thing exists, and for a lot of conversations that kind of thing exists. But like I will give you an another insight that he thinks that me talking about and doing everything like this is like completely fine, or do whatever you want, talk whatever you want, think about whatever you want, like completely okay with it. But he's not like they're not completely okay with my sister watching or thinking about or whole this. I think I vaguely I'm remembering that sometime like last week or 10 days ago that said that my sister shouldn't watch my show.
But how
it's like an adult kind of thing, and you shouldn't get into this because you're not like completely aware about it.
And
She's
how old
she's
is
in
she?
she just came to 11th.
like
Alright,
15.
So
like,
yeah, so that is her age. So that is what kind of her their perspective. I haven't had like a very extensive conversation about it, but that is what I think this is the whole thing.
You know what? This makes up for a very good conversation. This for a very good topic for conversation. What is the right age to educate children about, sexuality, orientation, gender, sex? And I think we can discuss this.
There's someone on Instagram, a doctor or I don't remember her name, but then it's a mother-daughter duo.
Yes, they make reels.
They make reels. She's already started educating. So I think
Rishikesh, we can talk about this in some of our future episodes, right?
I want to talk about the way my family reacts to it. So
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yes, please go ahead.
Well, I'll give you like 2 examples. So we were talking about TV shows earlier. So my mom and I were watching Schitts Creek. We started watching Schitts Creek, and then in the first few seasons, like David is not. He does not say that he's gay, right? He's pansexual. Sorry, he does not say that. But you kind of understand कि ऐसा कुछ है, and as someone who knows about all of this, it's very obvious and you kind of get a hint. But my mom was like, okay, fine. She thought कि हाँ से तो मतलब एक character तो होता ही है who dresses weirdly and who has piercings or does that limp hand thing and talks in a sassy manner. So she was okay with it. But then, like as the show progressed, Patrick
came into the scene.
Yeah, all of that. So my mom asked me कि ये LGBT क्या होता है? And then I explained her like full till the IA plus and everything, and I gave like full forms of each and everything, and then she just listened to me and she like अच्छा okay, and then she asked कि मतलब अच्छा gay relations, and then she had some questions and I answered, and I think I was very happy. Like she went back to watching the show, and I was smiling. I was like, oh my god, we had a conversation about this, and I explained it to her, and she listened to me. And उन्होंने कुछ negative नहीं बोला. There was no criticism.
Oh, so she just listened to it.
Yeah, she just listened to it and she went back to the show. उन्होंने pause किया. She asked me.
Right.
I told her and she went back to the show and we completed the whole season. And till date, sometimes there are reruns on TV and she watches them and she enjoys the show so much. Like if you talk about like a favorite memory, मेरी और मेरी मम्मा की, I think this would be the one. Watching
a little bit of Alexis. I thought you were gonna quote him.
The whole show would be like the best memory. And then I watched this show called I watched this show called Kim's Convenience with my dad, and I thought like it's a good family show. ठीक है, I'll watch it with my dad. And we started with episode 1. I had no clue what the show was about. I just knew कि हाँ एक family है. So we started with episode 1. So season 1, episode 1 is about Pride discount. So the whole town is having a pride parade, and
shit! I need to watch this.
Yeah, you have to watch it. It's a good show.
Putting it on my list right now.
The shopkeeper decides to put a special prize for gay people, whoever takes part in the pride parade.
Backstory तो बताओ इसका. Backstory तो बताओ इसका. Why did he do that?
I don't remember, like to promote the sales.
Mm-hmm. It was to actually prove that he was not homophobic.
It was to prove he was not homophobic. Yeah. So he puts up a discount, and the moment that whole episode started, I knew what direction it is going in, and I was kind of scared that my dad might disapprove. to watch this whole show, or he might think कि मजे नहीं आए, because he had this thing like he'll watch a show or a movie and he'll say बेकार था, मजे नहीं आए. It's very difficult to please him. So I thought he'll disapprove and then we'll have to find something else to watch again. But that show had 4 seasons at that time and I was like हाँ काफी लंबा चलेगा show, we can watch, like एक set purpose of entertainment है. So I was hoping that he would not disapprove of the show, and that happened. Like he was okay with it. In the end, I asked him कैसा लगा episode 1. I enjoyed it. So he said कि हाँ अच्छा है show, we should watch episode 2. I was like, wow, ये क्या हो रहा है? मतलब my parents are accepting it and they're okay with it. It's not like we are having regular conversations about it. ऐसा नहीं है. But they're not discouraging it or they're not criticizing it. They're okay with it. There are certain instances when my dad says like stuff and even my mom says stuff which is not very widely acceptable. Like if they say it on Twitter, वो cancel हो जाएंगे. But I'm okay with it. Like I think my brother and I, we have been educating them. Like
that was going to be my next question. That do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I do have a brother. And
a younger brother or an elder?
Yeah, a younger brother, like 2 years younger to me. So right. We belong to the same age group only. And we have been educating our parents. Like sometimes my dad would say the N-word. And we both would look at him and like, नहीं ये नहीं बोलना है. This is not correct. You can say black. ऐसे बोल सकते हैं.
Yeah. This is what I would do also.
Yeah, they're learning it. They would say some casteist word, which is very. Yeah. It is okay for them to say. मतलब वैसे बोलते हैं. And we've also grown up listening to it. So sometimes निकल जाता है मुंह से गलती से. And then we correct ourselves. And we've been doing that with our parents as well. Like the moment they say it, we look at them like ऐसे नहीं बोलते हैं. And then we tell them. So they make fun of us कि ओहो बच्चे हमको सिखा रहे हैं ऐसे नहीं बोलते.
That's
but
a good job.
Doing a bit. Like they might not implement it in real life, but
unlike me, I've just given up on my parents. I just listen to them and I'm like, awkward, I roll eyes. I'm going to refer to you by KB now.
Yeah, it's KB. You can call me Priceless Pepsi. That is also fine. It started with 2 रुपए की Pepsi because that was sexy, and then I realized self-worth होती है, so I put Pepsi on MRP. And then some guy I had a crush on told me नहीं, Pepsi on MRP नहीं होना चाहिए, should be like priceless. So that is how Priceless Pepsi came into being. काफी history है.
No, that was a nice run through the history. Yes.
A lot of people are getting cancelled though because of saying that things on YouTube and all, Instagram and all. What do you think about this cancel culture though, regarding the whole thing?
I have a lot of feelings about cancel culture because I was on Twitter for like 8 months straight. And then I saw, I couldn't adjust to the
8 months by.
Oh shit, yes. I couldn't...
I cancelled her. Oh my god, I just did what?
यार बहुत extreme है लोग, बहुत extreme है. I think people have a lot of opinions and ठीक, it's okay to be opinionated, but बहुत ज़्यादा extreme है. Like it's like if you don't agree with my opinion, you're cancelled. It's like that. ठीक है, fine. You can educate people about stuff. We can tell them कि हाँ ये गलत है. If they're not agreeing with it, ignore them. Maybe that's an option. But नहीं, वो उसको cancel कर देंगे. And people
goes to trolling.
Length. Yeah. It goes to trolling. It goes to destroying someone's career. Like there was this incident of a guy. What do you call it? Like talking to a minor and grooming. Yeah. So there was this incident of a guy grooming a 17-year-old. And he was like 21 or something. So वहाँ पे standard है like an 18 to 20 is fine, 17 to 20 is fine, but 17 and 21 is not okay. ऐसे करके Twitter पे there are various standards. I don't know. And like it's a little weird. So there was someone grooming a 17-year-old and someone leaked the chats and all, and like people called him out. Some like girls came like called him out. And then there was this group of people who went to that guy's university to say that your student so and gave all the details is a pedophile and he's been doing this. Please like suspend him or do this. They went to the university. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया ये. I don't know. I might be wrong. I might sound insensitive, but I felt wrong. Like if someone might put up a better argument and change my mind. I could be wrong, but मुझे लगा कि like going to the university and थोड़ा extreme है. I found it थोड़ा extreme.
Yeah.
I
Like,
think a
what
lot
is your
of
opinion on this?
I think a lot of power on internet comes through the power of anonymity and that then uh, that thought that nobody is going to actually come and give you real world consequences about the whole thing. So when you have that kind of shield, like consider that as a shield and a sword. You can do anything with anonymity and nobody's going to come to you as a shield. When you have both of things, then you can do anything. But now when both of these are taken away and you know the identity and what the real thing is and know what the physical consequences could be, the power of internet is just gone away.
Yeah, because you cannot hold anyone accountable if you don't
Yeah.
know anything about them.
Yeah.
But I think um yes, the extremity on Twitter is there. I have seen like every extreme exists, and it only exists in extreme. Either it is completely extreme or it is like just wholesome, and just extreme. Extremes is like either wholesome is also obviously when you are like following these that content and know what kind of content you have to follow. You are actively looking for it. Otherwise, it's just extreme. What is like if you open a trending page on Twitter, either a topic which is on trending, either it is getting trolled at or it is completely pointless. That is what happens in Twitter every day since very long. कि आप एक टॉपिक खोलो उसको जैसे क्लिक करोगे टॉप पोस्ट पे और रीसेंट पोस्ट पे सिर्फ ट्रोलिंग चलती रहेगी और बताएंगे कि कितना पॉइंटलेस है या फिर कोई एक जेन्युइन इशू होगा जिसके बारे में डिस्कशन करना जरूरी है. अब कई बार ऐसा होता है कि कई लोग a lot of people when they post on Twitter are just like completely opposed, like especially comedians or people gaining like having like a kind of a bias, or no, not bias, but I would say
like an observation.
An observation about unpopular notion about this, and it is like just completely filled up with trolls and other kind of expertise. So I think Twitter इस point पे थोड़ा सा shitty तो हो चुका है.
मैं ऐसे पोस्ट करता हूँ यार, बस मैंने ऐसे चिल वीकेंड वाइब्स, आई होप यू ऑल हैड अ नाइस वीकेंड, और मेरे वीकेंड के पिक्चर्स. This is what I post on Twitter.
This is perfect. Like, this is the only way to exist and follow senseless people. Like, not senseless, but like we're not posting anything very serious. I follow only those people.
I believe like conversation digresses so quickly on Twitter that, you know, even if you're following people just to gain a different perspective on things, the thread, as you move down the thread, you lose the perspective instead of gaining any, which happens most of the time. I'm not talking all the time. Yes, there's great stuff on Twitter as well, but then you have to filter a lot, and that filtering process is kind of very, you know, it's exhausting.
Plus it's kind of scary. Like I feel like I don't want to express my opinions a lot on a lot of political or religious topics, because Twitter पे dox हो जाते हो बहुत easily. It's very easy to dox someone, and especially as a woman, it's kind of scary. And when you're trying to be anonymous, you don't want all of this to reach your parents or create more troubles in your life. ठीक है, एक Twitter account ही है, ठीक है, you can live another day by maybe not accepting what is happening, but maybe not being extreme about it. ठीक है, नहीं करोगे tweet तो चल जाएगा, but हाँ, आपकी जान प्यारी है, and like your mental,
you have to be wise about
mental
it.
peace is way more than being an activist, I think.
Expressing your opinions, I kind of agree. To each his own, I guess. Everybody works differently. Everybody feels like, some people feel like being an activism is a part of their lifestyle. Like some people feel that it's really important to their being in this world. And well, go ahead. I mean, by all means. But I personally, I am the kind of a person that she is. So chill vibes.
I agree with you. We should not be judgmental. Like, we should be open about it. If someone finds purpose in dissenting about something, ठीक है, करो, मतलब fine. I don't want to do it. I want to post cat pictures and like wholesome memes. Okay, that's my Twitter personality. ठीक है, कर सकते हैं.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I think a lot of it also comes from the organic reach also. So you can actually see on the wall who has liked which kind of thing. That used to happen on Instagram, but it is just gone away.
That is such a toxic thing, by the way.
One
I
who
do not.
it happens on LinkedIn also. That's why a lot of people, content creators, are moving to LinkedIn because it shows like a lot of organic. It has a lot of organic reach because the person who has like liked your some other tweets. So like to retweet to comment ratio is it's reducing. So when you see that kind of things, it is very helpful when you are it was very helpful in the pandemic. A lot of people were able to find resources, and it is very easy to find resources because of the Twitter APIs and everything. You're able to search everything. So that was very useful, and that is what I would think is the best thing about the social media, that you could connect with so many people. But when the same thing again, it's like the balance of responsibility and power. That quote from Spider-Man.
How it works in your favor. If it's not working in your favor, तो बुरा है.
Yeah.
I mean, I would for comparison, a post on Twitter with around 60 or 70 tweets and 60 or 70 likes and retweets, and retweeted by some influencer 3 or 4 times, it would give, with just 60 or 70 things, it would give like an impression of 25,000 or 30,000. That's what the reach of Twitter is. Provided they are like retweeted by an influencer, but again, it's like 35,000, 40,000. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of reach?
So how do you define an influencer on Twitter? Like, कितने followers के बाद they are eligible?
At least like they are like verified, and they have like around 20k or 30k or more.
Okay.
Anyway, so coming back to the judgment. So one of the concluding parts, before the concluding parts of the judgment, the court went on to talk about the Article 14, Article 15, how where the genesis of the judgment and the thought process of the judge comes from, which is the nobody should be discriminated on the basis of gender. So he explains that gender can not only be limited to a male and a female. It has to expand to a lot of things, and a lot of things which we talked about in the previous episode also, and how it has found a genesis throughout the world and throughout the judgments and legislative processes through various statutes as well. So I won't get into much of the detail about that because that would be a little technical, and one needs to have like basic.
But I think we missed upon one of the most important aspect of this judgment was the fact that the judge ordered himself to also get a psychotherapy session with the psychotherapist, and that was my mind was personally blown. Like I was like, okay, what did just happen? Like, I was like that because this is something that I would never expect a judge to do, especially an Indian judge to do. And like, shout out to Mr. Venkatesh, but and I believe I would like to read something out. This is like one of my favorite sections from when he's describing what he learned after that psychotherapy session. I would like to just go through it, this one paragraph, if you all allow me to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And please go ahead. I'll take some time to find it. So you were saying something. I'll conclude later, maybe. Rishikesh.
Yeah, no, go ahead. That thing could be in the part of the next thing. Like find your whole thing. I was just concluding the judgment anyway, like, and I was talking about.
एक तीर से दो निशान है. First of all, therapy. और
I know, right?
Therapy किसके बारे में? काफी progressive for a day.
I mean, this can be observed throughout the judgment, where they wanted to learn about the whole thing and wanted a professional help from the whole thing. And I think that's what best thing should be. That's what I also believe. कि अगर कुछ नहीं पता तो professional की बात मानो, नहीं तो कुछ बात मत मानो. या तो get the information from a credible resource, or just don't get it. Like stay in your preconceived notions. वैसे के वैसे ही रहो. ठीक है, people can understand कि भाई ये तो ऐसा ही है, change नहीं होता. They can like make peace with it.
I want to ask something. Complete.
हाँ, so either you like stay in your preconceived notion, so people can make your peace with it कि हाँ भाई ये ऐसा ही है, change नहीं हो सकता. whatever, however aggressive it is, कि चलो भाई, you have to compromise, you have to live with it. हम इंडियन लोग हैं, हम लोग compromise कर भी लेते हैं ऐसी चीजों से. But if you are trying to change, and if you are like trying to get knowledge and get to information, get it from credible resources, get it from professional people, get it from people who like actually know about shit, and then get to know about it, get to know about the whole thing. Like even I would like to add a disclaimer to our podcast that we are not professionals about anything, any kind of thing. We are like getting information from as credible sources as possible. I have literally downloaded the judgment from like the most credible websites there is for the judgments, and it took time because it is like goes through a process, and it is uploaded after a week or 10 days. That's why like the judgment came on 8 June, and we are like recording and after like 14-15 days. So we are not like set of professionals. We're just talking about the whole thing. And if you're like looking for information in like this kind of podcast, I don't think you're like looking in a correct place. This is a good starting point, but you have to go beyond us and look for it by yourselves also.
Yeah,
this is what I would like to
none
promote.
Of us, yeah, I think we just want to have conversation about things that are not really in the conversations most of the time, and we just want to normalize people being able to at least go take that first step into learning more about the world and not be heads deep, knees down into their own worlds, so that they forget to respect that there are other people in this world, 7 billion other people in this world, and that every person is different from the other person. So that's the only thing that we're trying to do. We're just trying to understand each other over here. We're just trying to understand if not the 7 billion people, then at least some of the people that exist in the world and are different and choose to be different every single day. And that brings me to...
KB was saying things.
KB, yes.
KB, I don't remember what I was saying, but अब तो मैं भूल गई.
Alright, so I'll continue with mine. I think this... I'll recite it first and then I'll tell you why it's so important to me personally. So when the judge is describing, Mr. Venkatesh is describing about what he learned after his session with the therapist, he says, in one of the paragraphs, he says, the invisibility of queer lives also plays a significant role here. Queer folks face a constant battle of whether to out themselves in a potentially homophobic group or continue to invisibilize themselves and be invisibilized. And the latter has been true for many homosexual individuals who are coerced into living a heteronormative life. The homonegativity can be witnessed in every direction they turn to, like loans, jobs, housing. All of it starts with same-sex marriage, not even recognized by the law and hence considered illegitimate. Forces that are supposed to offer protection turn out as potential dangers. There are incidences beyond count in police stations when queer individuals who seek support and protection are met with demeaning dialogues. All these reasons contribute to suicide and self-harm amongst the queer community, the rate of which is manifold when compared to cis individuals with heterosexual identity. The client shared how the shift towards financial independence by the queer folks enabled them to hold their ground stronger than ever before and to even uproot themselves if need be. And I personally relate to this fact because, as I told you, KB, that initially I was of the thought that my parents do not even deserve to know about my sexuality because I will have a job, I'll have my own, I'll take care of my own finances, and I will not be accountable to anybody else, not be answerable to my own family, and well, things would work out. But now that I'm at home and working with my dad, things have changed. But this personally holds true to me because now that I have recognized and set it into the stone that yes, I identify as a homosexual, now that I'm out in the world, I realize that I really do not have a lot of the rights that heterosexual people have and enjoy in this country. And this personally holds a lot of value in my life to make an effort, go out there and ask for equal rights, basic human rights, and at least be recognized as a civil union if I in future have a partner, which I currently don't, but at least I have a chance to avail all the rights that a heterosexual person has in this country.
I wanted to ask, I remember the thing I wanted to ask. Would things have been different if it were two gay people rather than two lesbian or bisexual women? Two gay men.
In the judgment? In the judgment?
Yeah. Would it have been different considering their gender?
I think it
two
would be.
Men.
I think it would be to some extent.
Were we lenient because they were women, or
No, not lenient.
Impact the decisions.
Not lenient, but I think, see, parents are concerned about a child's future regardless of either their son or their daughter.
No, it could be maybe because they're worried, fine ladki hi to hai, we could suppress her somewhere like that, or matlab theek hai ladka nahi hai, because I think still people in conservative families or in rural areas hold more importance, give more importance to sons than daughters, or consider them more a more valued human being than daughters. It's a reality, they have to accept it.
Again, that would be even more play into the fact that their son is in a homosexual relationship, and it would be that more difficult for them to accept that, because
that is
as
why
you
the
said,
judgment could have been different.
No. I don't think the perspective of the judge would have been different for other individual or for other people who of the other gender. I think it would have been the same. However, the circumstances and the reaction of the family would have been completely different, which probably wouldn't have led to this judgment. Because I will tell you why I think that. Because I think they would not face this kind of problem with the police. So a lot of time police has the problem of victim blaming. They just blame the whole thing, and that missing persons report is very common when in the situations of eloping. So usually this happens when only with the families, a lot of time with the families of the girls, not with the guys.
But imagine if the police found two guys, they could have thrashed them.
See, the police only found these two girls because the missing persons report was missing persons report was filed by their parents, and then police went on for investigation, and then they found them, and then later on the girls probably visited the court. See, that was the set of circumstances that led to. I believe that if they were guys, the set of circumstances would have been completely different, because the approach of police would have been completely different. They probably wouldn't have the situation where the girls had faced harassment would be there. I'm not denying that the gay people don't face harassment by the police. They are a lot of times laughed off from a lot of government places. I'm not denying that, but I would still say that the set of circumstances would have been very different, and we probably wouldn't have had this. Probably, there are still chances, but probably because of the circumstance. However, the view of judge would have been complete.
Look, I would let's say that I am a person who's not really educated, and at the same time I'm a person who tries to put people down who have unconventional ways to express themselves. For example, let's say I find a guy who doesn't really conventionally behave in a very masculine manner, or let's say that I find out that somebody's actually gay, and I have evidence about it, that this person is actually gay, and now I'll bully him because I am that kind of a person. And such people exist in huge numbers in India, or in any part of the world for that matter. If the police were not educated enough about this fact, then I would say that they would definitely see two men in a homosexual relationship in a very different light compared to two women in a homosexual relationship, because I think this is actually another one of my favorite part of the statement where the judge is describing what he has learned about the LGBTQ community after having the session with the psychotherapist. And he says that, give me a second, I'll just find it and let you know.
Are you reading the report or the comments of the judgment or comments of the judge after the report? Because the report refers the judge as the client.
As the client, yeah. So that part where he's being described as a client, and he says that a misconception that came to the forefront was how homosexuality is very often viewed only with a sexual connotation, a relationship confined only to sex. The client expressed how listening to the petitioner was when he realized the flawed notion he had, and how two men came to be seen as a couple by the end of that discussion for him. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie called Aligarh, but if you haven't, go ahead and watch it. It's like, it's a cinematic marvel again.
Yes.
And it'll tell you how people who are not really educated about this stuff, they see people from the LGBTQ community only as sexual beings, only as people who have some kind of a perversion, people who
I think that is mainly because of porn. I think it's because of that, because it's like a bisexual relation, like homosexual women relationships are very discounted because it's like
absolutely
it's just a porn category for them.
A lot of it is just
beyond that.
Exactly. To a lot of people, two women can't really possibly have a romantic relationship ever. And these are people who are not educated.
I've the number of times I have heard this, "Arey tere to maze hain, you have best of both worlds." Like, kya hai ye?
Yeah, and exactly, and I believe that is true. Like, that part is true where we say that a lot of people think of lesbians only as sexual creatures, and there's no counter to that. But when it comes to two men in a relationship, they're seen with I believe so. Like, personally, I think so, that people who are not educated look at them through a bigger lens of perversion. For me personally, because I believe that when we talk about women, then there is kind of this immediate sense of how should I put it? There is this immediate sense of sensitivity that we, put them under, especially in the Indian constitution, because there are a lot of laws that are kind
sensitivity
of
as in
sensitivity as in there is this unnecessary sensitivity towards women in our country. That's what I feel like, because
like they are not as conventionally strong as men.
Exactly, and well, physically that can be that can be true, but what I'm trying to say is that we put them under unnecessary, like, for example, let's just say that we provide them quota in different educational institutes just because they're women, right? We provide them particular seats in the metros and buses just because they're women. Well, if it's a pregnant woman, makes sense. But I believe when you mention it, that beti bachao, beti padhao kind of a deal, I personally believe that when we talk about women in that particular light, I think we are like beginning with a very wrong foot. We are representing them as something that is weak. I don't know if I make sense here.
Look, so I would like give you a little bit of background why it is there. So India started with when our laws were written, we started with a very big disparity between men and women in terms of population. So when this was looked into, why this happened was because there were many societal factors with this. So there was sati. There was there was child marriage, and there were female feticide. These three things like gave the genesis to the whole thing, and gave a little bit of a background to why we need women to be protected. So law in India provides for I would say, I'm not connecting, provides for the power to actually create the laws for people who are not in the same position with the society. So the society is here. The society is
not equality, I think. the
I will
concept
explain you why it is. So
Ah.
it's about equality amongst the equals.
Hmm.
So and then we after when that is reached, then the equality is reached in the system. So for
Yeah.
example, why it is called equality amongst equals is that you can't treat the person who is in jail as same as the person who is outside the jail. You say कि भाई उसकी तो freedom of क्या कहते हैं freedom of movement वो हो रही है, freedom of life curtail हो रही है, but नहीं, उसके circumstances अलग थे, इसलिए उसके लिए वो हो रही है. I will just giving an example. But when you have a certain set of people who are not at the same level as society, because of various historical contexts, then you need to provide some affirmative action for them to actually get with the society. This is what is affirmative action called. Women के लिए
Alright.
special laws बनाना, you are
Can I
essentially bringing
say
them
something? Like the
society.
example Gautam said about metro में reserving a seat for women. As a woman, I can say, like, for someone who travels in metro, I would like to have a seat if I'm traveling in a general coach, like the first few coaches. They are like combined, like there's no distinguish between them. And the last
Yeah.
one, or the first one, is only like ladies coach. So if I'm
Yeah.
traveling in a general
No.
coach,
Almost all of the seats in the metro are like reserved, like they have a column reserved for women,
Not-
and that actually works where like, or I would say 60% is reserved for women in metros, because 50% of each carriage
Yeah.
and one complete carriage is
But
for
I
women.
would, if I'm traveling in a general compartment, I would like to have a seat, and I don't want to keep standing. And that is not because because I'm a woman. That is because I don't feel safe if I'm standing. Like I have been touched inappropriately in the metro couple
Yeah,
of
so
times.
that is one of the major
Yeah,
reasons
and I
why
would
this
like
happens.
to have a seat because if I'm standing, I'm very prone to being touched inappropriately, or maybe not. Even if the other person does not have an intention, I might get accidentally touched inappropriately, and that would definitely impact me in a negative way. But if I have a seat, I'm more likely to be safe. I feel that way. So I think when traveling in a general compartment, I would like to have a seat. It's because of that to maybe.
I kind of
Again,
do
I
understand
don't
that.
know.
I
This
kind of want to
executive
backtrack
decision.
and apologize for my patriarchal
No,
view on
it's
this.
okay.
but-
It's okay. You are
okay.
you are
Yeah.
coming from a
Learning,
correct
huh.
position where you want that equality because you see gender as no difference, but there is like a historical context of why that happens. Because of all that historical baggage and the whole thing, we need to provide them so that they're equal.
Yeah.
Ideally, we should have been there. These things
Yeah.
aren't supposed to last for very long because they expect that they will bring a change in society and they would essentially be equal, change the mindset of people, and they would essentially after one point of time get equal and get everything. But as we are seeing, it is not, because
Yeah, I believe the point that I was trying to convey was the fact, like when KB asked that, do you think the situation would have been different if it was two men instead of two women? Then I actually just wanted to say that had it been because it was two women, I believe that even though all homosexuals, be it man, woman, or any other gender, are looked through with the same eyes of perversion, I would say that when it's women, I think there is still a little bit of sensitivity which can sometimes be unnecessary and undefinable from the police's end. But when it's like men, then we can thrash these people. I don't know if I make sense, but I believe
It's
I can.
also like
the use
instill
of
that.
force. Yeah, I think the use of
Yes,
force and
exactly.
the ridicule would be much more prevalent for men. The ridicule is still
Exactly.
there for women, but
Like,
it is
because-
in the sense of victim blaming.
Yeah, because
The ridiculous sense of ridicule.
within my own province, I won't name the province, or like I won't name a particular area where this happened. I have heard so many instances of people getting third degrees when it's not allowed. I mean, they just take people
Never
in,
allowed.
and they just take people in, won't even file an FIR, and they would start thrashing a guy if it is a guy, while it rarely ever happens with a woman. So I would say that, yes, in that respect, we respect our women a lot in a legal sense, I would say. Like in a sense where, there is no violence happening, at least in the eyes of law, against women.
Yeah,
Right.
I get your point. Yeah, सही कह रहे हो. हाँ.
I don't want
Yeah, no. You were like,
get my
it's
words,
important to
yeah.
discuss about it, because that's what I meant when I said the circumstances would have been different. That's
Yeah.
what I meant, that they would probably face violence. I didn't want to bring it up because it would probably be triggering for some people. but they do face violence in these kind of situations, and when they do face violence, it is very unlikely that they would go for litigation. They would just like compromise with the parents and like, okay, whatever. I don't want to get beaten up. I don't want to get beaten up for my personal life. I will suffer for whatever. However, it is very sad, but I don't want to get beaten up by police.
Also, like if we take the case in the court, there would be a whole word about it in the society, and what's worse than getting that out in the public? Yeah, you know, like what's worse than people knowing that yes, you are a certain way. Like they would make, because that way you're putting your family under duress as well, and nobody wants that. So such cases mostly just end up being closed at the court and not really processed
before before even reaching the court. They won't
before even reaching the court. Yeah, exactly.
That's what we saw in Made in Heaven also, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, a lot of people would say that it is just fiction and it is just no.
It happens.
A movie or a TV show is a lot of times a reflection of the society. You have to believe the writer is not like coming from a place where he just went to sleep and came up with an idea and wrote the whole 10 episodes of thing. He saw some things in his life. He talked to people. He gained perspective and then wrote it. That's why it is very celebrated on IMDb and has a very great rating.
How the landlord says that like stay away. He's to the daughter. Stay away. He's gay and like it's not cool to hang around him. Maybe because like the daughter was a school going kid and like of female gender, and then she says ki I am very safe with him. I'm less likely to get raped by him. Like,
exactly.
That was very eye-opening.
Right. Yeah.
When people say कि गंदी चीज है or like something like that, they see it with a sense of disgust. You're more likely to be safe there.
And relating to that, I would like to say that, you know, one of my college best friends, her mother always feels so much safer when she's with me because she knows about me. Like I actually told her before I told my own mom, like, because, you know, it's easier to tell other people than family. So I told her, and now she's like, well, she's very cool with it. And whenever I am along, she's always very content and like very okay with the fact that she's out with a man.
Coming to this, since we're talking about this, and I think it's a very step what the court gave. So there is this thing called the order of mandamus. The court passed that. It's basically the ordering of the court towards a particular lower governmental institution or lower court. So what it is, it says that if an individual approaches the police regarding a missing person of a male or a man or a woman or whatever it is, and if in the later investigation it is found out that these individuals who are being reported as missing belong to LGBTQIA+ community and are in a relationship, and that kind of situation arises, the complaint immediately has to be taken. It is not a missing person. So the whole development and the context came from it, where the entire thing is literally hinges upon this key. Because a lot of times this is going to happen, that if you are in a homosexual relationship and you're like just not accepted by the family and just go live with other individuals and other people with whom you want to, the family is just going to file the missing persons report. Then the police eventually will have to take by the report because there is a precedent check. However, I would like to point out that this is just a precedent for Madras Highcourt by a Madras Highcourt. So technically it is binding in the jurisdiction of Tamil Nadu. It is not binding in the jurisdiction of Delhi. It would be like substantial and not authoritative. Like कि आप उसको लेके जा सकते हो.
Very silly question. Like if someone elopes to Delhi, what would happen then? Tamil Nadu to Delhi.
So police will have to file the complaint in Delhi only. From where they elope to? From Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
So police complaint तो पुलिस की तमिलनाडु से ही होगी ना, कि उसका प्लेस ऑफ रेजिडेंस तो तमिलनाडु में ना.
मतलब ठीक है.
हाँ, complaint तो तमिलनाडु में फाइल हुई ना. Investigation तो later
complaint is failed. Yeah.
So technically the main stakeholders and main beneficiaries are in the state of Tamil Nadu because वहाँ पे binding है, यहाँ पे इतना binding नहीं है. ठीक है, you have to consider हम लोग का proper federal structure नहीं है US की तरह कि भाई वहाँ के state के laws अलग है और national अलग होते हैं. Completely ऐसा हमारा नहीं है. हम लोग का क्वाजी फेडरल इसको हम बोलते हैं। तो इसमें ये है कि ठीक है, हम आपकी बात मान लेते हैं, इवन आप हाई कोर्ट हो, बट अल्टीमेटली it will be the decision of the court if they want to agree upon it. They are very likely to, because it is essentially a judgment of a higher court, not a trial court or sessions court. Higher court की बात है, फिर भी मानी जा सकती है, but they are not bound to. I'm just saying, they are not bound to agree to this.
Yeah.
It is in your favor and a step in right direction. Sorry, but they are not bound. I'm sorry, you just had a dinner recently, so that's why. But
oh no, we understand.
yeah, so that is one of the major takeaways from the judgment. Another thing which people would like to know and know about it is how this judgment will also saying that इन लोगों के help के लिए the separate homes will be created. You can I will link the judgment and provide the judgment in the link. See what kind of whole things are there. And the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment also has to upload a list of NGOs on their website within 8 weeks, that which NGOs can one approach to if they face these kind of situations, or they are looking for job opportunities but they aren't able to find any because of whole discrimination and whatever. So they have to like ऐसे जो NGOs काम करते हैं इन फील्ड में, they have to register themselves, and the Ministry of Social Justice and whatever it is, I'm not remembering, Social Justice and Empowerment, they have to like provide with the list. Then there is a recommendation where the court says that to provide, as I mentioned before, to provide with the perspective, knowledge, and knowledge about the whole movement and the rights of people and what kind of thing it actually is to different people and how it would be beneficial for them. The court has laid out कि उनको क्या क्या बताना चाहिए, वो जजमेंट के लास्ट पार्ट में है, आप लोग उसको देख सकते हैं. And it would be, I would say कि everybody should like go through this. Avoid the Article 14 part. Avoid after para number 21, but read the whole thing. After reading the whole thing, अगर आपको कुछ नहीं पता है and if you like open to learn, you will learn a lot of it. Like it is like knowledge जहाँ से मिलती है लेनी चाहिए, and इतनी authentic जगह से मिल रही है तो इससे better कुछ भी नहीं है.
Also, if you guys have like any law related questions, then you could totally text us, right? Rishikesh would be more than happy to take it up and solve it for you. And I also want to just like conclude and say that this whole judgment might not be a precedent. It's not applicable to most of the states in India right now and applies only to Madras. But the fact that it has opened discussion for so many topics, like throughout the judgment, you feel like personally for me, belonging to the LGBTQ community, I felt like it was such a well-rounded discussion. When he's having a conversation with his therapist, I felt like this judge has basically left nothing out of the conversation. Like he talks about how we need to include queer people when we discuss about sex education in school. He talked about, as I said, how we need to stop looking at queer people from a point of view where we just consider them as sexual beings and perverted beings. He talked about equal rights regarding land, marriage, and other areas where we do not have equal rights as heterosexual couples. And I feel like this is basically the need of the hour for us to have a healthy conversation about what needs to be the next step. Yes, decriminalization happened. Yes, we are not criminals anymore. But what's the next step? And this judgment is exactly what it is.
And he even went on. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I just want to say कि guys, financially independent bano, and like I think that's very important. Living life on your own terms. If you want to, if your parents are not accepting it, so you would definitely want to move out, and to do that you need money. So financially independent bano, it's very important. You cannot rely on
Amen to that.
You cannot rely on other factors all the time. The system might let you down.
Your parents might let you down.
Yeah,
your family might let you down.
So, financially independent bano. It's very important.
State can only do so much. sadly. And if you are like, as you say, clueless about anything, so I would like to plug Tanmay Bhatt's channel Clueless, because I am saying that his work in getting people to know about finances and everything is just stellar, just amazing how he delivers that. I mean, a content creator telling your financial needs, and like a comedian, not a comedian and a content creator telling you what finances is, like a best way. If the point of information is to reach as many people as possible, who is better than Tanmay Bhatt? Obviously, nobody is better.
Entertainment at this
Yeah.
point.
It's called Clueless, right? I'll also watch it.
Yeah, it's called Clueless.
I've
It's
never
amazing.
watched it.
He has talked about. So he has also launched this trading course, free of cost.
Okay.
So I haven't able to seen it. I haven't got the time, but I think it's amazing.
मैं reacts बहुत देखता हूँ यार.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
so
also very
funny.
Yeah,
That's also very fun.
Super funny.
That's funny.
The Netflix one or the Pitai review one?
Both,
No,
both
Netflix.
उसके channel
I
पे
watched
होता है
just the
और
Netflix
one.
one.
No, he does this thing called Pitai review, where where he watches the parents of India beating up their children with various kind of house supplies like belts, chappals, and whatever and whatnot.
Not only that, there's like a lot of review, Pitai review, various science DIY experiment reviews.
अच्छा वो chat के reviews भी तो होते हैं. They're reading just
Yeah.
random people, Pakistani chats and lover chats.
They started recently on.
Yeah,
It's amazing, bhai.
I remember that.
The content he's creating, he's basically becoming the next PewDiePie, I would say.
But do you realize कि ये सब possible हो सकता है after 2015, 2016? All of this is very easily accessible and it's easily possible. मतलब बहुत आसान है. I remember I used to be in school and we got internet. We got Wi-Fi in 10th. उससे पहले dongle होता था. And that used to be very इतना slow connection होता था. And you had no privacy.
Tata Docomo.
हाँ, Tata Docomo.
I used to have,
my parents' laptop. And that dongle was like company issued, so you cannot browse anything NSFW. And we only used to do it for project, school project assignment. And उसके बाद Wi-Fi आया, phone आया, and I had all the privacy in the world. Like हाँ, मैं अपने room में बैठ के जो चाहे देख सकती हूँ. And I started consuming so much content. मतलब मेरे को पता ही नहीं था मैं क्या देख रही हूँ. जो आ रहा था देख रही थी मैं. And that is when the whole thing started. कि कितना कुछ पता चलता है when you see other people, when you listen to other people. कितना कुछ पता चलता है. And at this point when internet is practically free, like it's so cheap right now. पहले 1 GB हम लोग पूरा month चलाते थे.
In India at least.
In India, yeah. पहले 1 GB हम लोग पूरा month चलाते थे. Now दिन में like 3 to 4 GB consumption आराम से होता है. मतलब पता ही नहीं चलता. मोबाइल पे 3 to 4 GB हो जाता है.
You watching this whole podcast in highest
Yeah.
quality is probably consume more data than you had for a whole month in 2015 or
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's so easy to make content. It's so easy to watch content now.
Yeah.
Every day you can learn something new.
True that.
Speaking of content, the judge also had a conversation with a very famous content creator on Instagram.
Trinetra, right?
Yes, he also mentioned about that in the judgment. That talking to her. I mean, going far. Going as far as talking to content creators
people from
and
the community, right?
Yeah, it's like
He
very
left no place to get educated about this from. Like he left
no stones
no
unturned.
chance.
No stones unturned. No.
But I think he could have mentioned watch Schitts Creek, mandatory watch of Schitts Creek.
I think him writing wokeness in the judgment is completely enough for me in terms of pop culture, because it's enough. I think it's completely enough. Just writing wokeness is. And even saying I am not woke enough is. Wow.
मजे आ गए.
Yeah.
Anyway,
On
should we
that
can this?
note, I think
It's about 1 hour.
It's about 2 hours now.
Yeah.
No, the stream is about the whole episode is about 1 hour. Anyway, so any concluding thoughts? Any final thoughts? Anybody would like conclude with?
मैंने तो कर दिया यार, मतलब और ने बहुत ही अच्छी
Nobody, go ahead.
और
Come again.
और
Come
MK
again.
ने भी बहुत ही अच्छी बात बोली.
KB.
What is this?
Come again. I will cut it out.
Yeah. और KB ने भी बहुत अच्छी बात बोली that get financially independent. Do not expect much from your family or anybody, like unless you have like somebody, a very huge support system who already knows about stuff from your life and you can totally depend upon. Don't really expect much from people. Like they'll probably end up disappointing you. Not everybody ends up in a
unless
place
you are
like me.
completely confident. Like you should endeavor. I'm not saying like cut off from the family.
Absolutely.
Because that is what the approach of the court was also.
Exactly.
Like always try to reach for a peaceful settlement because then your life would be much easier than that. Having a parent support in your life is nothing. Obviously, exceptions are there.
I am a live example of it. Reaching a peaceful agreement, not telling my parents about it because I know that I'm going to end up with a guy. So, क्यों करना? फालतू कलेश होगा. What is the whole point of it? ठीक है, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. And as I discussed in the last, in the first episode of this podcast, I got a job first. Then I left that job and then I joined my dad. And that's when I decided to come out to them because now I'm working with them. So even like the last thought before I came out to them was the fact that even if they don't accept me, I have a degree in my hands. I have friends who will be more than happy to support me. And I can easily land a job if I wanted to the next day. And that is when I became like so absolutely okay with the fact that even if they don't accept me after I come out, I'll do just fine in this life. But I'll have options.
I'll tell you what, we might be sounding a little, we are privileged, of course, and acknowledging that. We might be sounding a little entitled because not everyone has a degree, not everyone has favorable circumstances where they can not tell their parents and still have a peaceful agreement. They might have to tell and we can still, we should be accepting of that fact as well.
They're probably not watching this podcast then.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are watching at this point, I'm really thankful for you. You spent 1 hour of your life watching us talk about
and a lot of GB of data.
Yes. And thank you so much, like people who got back to us after watching the first episode and they were with their sweet comments. It was really nice to, because this is my first time and while getting that kind of a validation really pushes you to make more content and put it out there so that people can feel happy about stuff that is on the internet. And I hope that you guys keep on sharing and liking our content and tell us, and also come up with new concepts that you want us to discuss about the queer community. Any queer issues, we'd love to have your inputs down in the comments.
So अब plug in कर लेते हैं हर content creator की तरह. So guys, please don't forget to like this episode. Please comment on it and please share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. And this is for YouTube.
The button is right here.
I think it is
or here maybe. Or here.
Yeah. Or if you want to know the basics about whole gender, sexuality, and or other things where we introduce everything and all things, you can watch in our first episode. I'm going to be linking somewhere here, whatever. And next thing, yes. So for our audio listeners, I think that would be more convenient because like us on Apple Podcast, give us a good rating there, follow us on Spotify, and also one last thing, if you like, you could also send us voice messages on Anchor. There is a link there in the description of Spotify and on Apple Podcast. You can send us voice messages there. We can feature it on our next episode. And our lovely guests, if they want to plug in their podcast,
you can also slide into my DMs. On,
where? How are they going to reach you? Do you have like an Instagram page
I have a Twitter account, which is more than enough. You can reach me on Twitter.
Okay, I will link her Twitter account. And when is your sweet voice coming again on your own podcast?
I have recorded something, and it's about dating, online dating in the modern world.
Okay.
As a Gen Z, what's it like to date online? And
That's interesting.
yeah, but I do have to edit the episode, and I might have to re-record some parts of it, and then
No
I'll put
worries.
it out.
No worries.
But
So I
think,
will also link.
Rishikesh will help me.
Yeah, definitely. I will
Are you
also
just
link.
being lazy about it? I feel like you're getting just lazy about editing the
Yeah,
episode.
I
Are
might
you?
be. I
Yeah,
might
that's
be.
me sending reels to myself on Instagram that I should be making and then just sleeping on them.
Yeah, saving audios. Saving audios.
His reel was shared by Kusha Kapila.
Ah, yes, that was like
That's
crazy.
Bridgerton wala, right?
Bridgerton, yes.
Yes.
Guys, I'm famous. Hello, if you guys know me.
That reel reached about 1 billion views.
930, 930k, I think. Yeah.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Nice.
It was very funny. Anyway, so I will also link her podcast in the description. And if you guys have any questions regarding what we talked about, have any comments regarding that, do tell us. You can also mail us. I will also mention the mail ID. And send us an
if you
Instagram,
don't
DM on
know-
Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know what I look like, I look cute. So if you want to talk to me, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, on that note,
She's as cute as her logo.
as
I
a
would say.
button.
Yeah.
She's as cute as a button. I never understood what it means because buttons are not cute to me, but
Buttons are plastic. So basically, if you want to call someone plastic, you can say that.
yeah, so she's as
No man,
cute as that.
why do you change the meaning of the? Why buttons are so harmless? They are so useful in your life. You
No,
can
that was a
basically-
self-deprecating
Like, if you
joke and I
swallow a button,
really
you'll die.
appreciate that.
No, they can come out. They can come.
I love the joke. I love how
Thanks.
you
So
elevated it.
guys,
Yeah.
see, I'm funny. You should follow me on Twitter.
And the
Gautam
podcast
approved.
is also
Yeah,
gonna
and the
be funny.
podcast.
Also, like KV, if you like someday want to invite us to your podcast, then I just want to let you know that hum bhi vele hi hai, matlab, you know.
Definitely, I would want to invite you guys. Definitely, मैं करूँगी record and I'll invite you guys. And it'll be
It's far
fun.
more convenient to have like a triple dynamic, 3 people dynamic, and than recording it alone.
Yeah.
Collab.
From personal
Guys,
experience, I'm saying
collab.
it. Yeah, definitely.
Collab.
Virtual content creators का date collab.
Ooh, nice.
भाई क्लब हाउस पे होते हैं ये तो काफी
हाँ.
अच्छी तरीके से.
Yeah,
But
if,
anyway.
if you want us to like talk about the whole episode and all, come out and come on Clubhouse also, we are open to that also. We're
Yeah.
having our
Yeah,
options
yeah.
completely
We have
open.
an episode on how Clubhouse is very shitty in India. I and Rishikesh, we had a discussion about it, and like it's not good. I have a lot of privacy concerns, तो मुझे तो सही नहीं लगा. I deactivated it.
Alright.
Anyway,
That's
so
it.
let's scan it.
Yeah.
End करते हैं. Okay, bye bye. Wait. Okay, bye bye. You guys stay on it, but I will just end the episode. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.